What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90, where we've suffered another loss. 2 week, a week to forget. Hey, we're going to go through some of our thoughts. There are some good things. There are some pretty awful things to mention as well. Just as something to remember, this is still very early on in the Marty reign. There isn't too much to be positive about. There's obviously a couple of things you probably already know about now the game's finished. But there's some other things that I wanted to mention as well. So before that, again, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll get into it. So let's start with the initial starting lineup. So we'll get into this one in just a bit. So looking at this team, when we started, it was this particular team. And you're thinking, okay, I mean, still our check, pretty straightforward. Okoli gets a start, especially since he was quite poor for the first 45 minutes. And again, I've made it so it's a little bit more like we actually play. Probably you probably should be closer down to here. But a lot of the team, I was like, fair enough. That's probably the strongest we can go with. Justin comes in for Chowdhury. Thomas keeps his place, even though he was substituted off later, which we'll get into in a second. Winks comes in for Skip, which I believe, let's be honest, we all believe was going to happen. Samore keeps his place from the for both games as well. So 3 games in a row, he started and played all the minutes. And so this is the formation. So when the match started, I was like, okay, I could see what we're trying to do with, especially with Winks coming in. And I think one of the things I noticed, it was poor football, to be honest with you. There were some really poor performers, I think. It's like, do you know what it was? Because we were sold the dream with Fiorentina. We saw how well we could perform against them, thinking, God, if we're doing that against these lot, a good quality Italian side, what we're going to do against a Preston. And it turns out there's still a lot more work to be done as it's a one-off. There were some beautiful bits from that game. They haven't carried through. Um, I think there was a couple of players I want to mention before that because I think I do want to give Preston so much credit. Osmaich, I think, was great. I thought Thierry Small was fantastic in this game as well. McCann put himself everywhere. I think that they played Leicester really well. They nullified the threats and they knew they hadn't got the quality of the players. So they're going to beat us with hard work, grift, and sticking a leg in, sticking an elbow in, and basically knocking our players off. And at the end of the day, we've been in that position where we've come against a Man City, or except we're not going to be able to play around them, but we're going to have to play football. And they played the game really well. They didn't let us have any time on the ball. They didn't let us to settle into the game. And I think that is something to really give them credit for. We need to work on that, to be honest, but I do want to give them credit because they were fantastic. Now, coming into this is one of the first things I wanted to mention as well, coming into this formation where we look at here. So in terms of this one, there was the first half was pretty poor. It looked like the team wasn't really gelling, it wasn't really clicking. And we tried, but there wasn't really any major attacks that really took us to the next level. What happened is that we kept losing the ball. We kept trying to play. It didn't quite work. The fullbacks, because we know that Marty likes to play with a 4-2-3-1. So he likes a fullback to invert. Justin was kind of doing it, but it looks like every time he got his ball, he was back to goal. He wasn't confident. Luke Thomas wasn't really getting in the attacking positions when we had possession of the ball. They would win the ball and they would counter on us. And that was kind of the story of the game and one of the reasons why we lost the game. But if we play this attacking football, we are going to be left weak in behind. One of the other things that happened as well, because I think El Canoes takes his responsibility personally and wants to try and affect the game in every way he can. The thing is, when he was here, when we were playing the position, when we were out of ball, when we had the ball in like a weaker position, he would drop deeper and deeper and deeper alongside Samore and was trying to make things happen from here. Now, Marty wants him to be up here and let these other two or the rest of them do the work. So you got your five. If you look at it this way, you've got your five here, you've got your five here, but probably more like Samore Winks as your number 8. We'll come on to Winks in a second in terms of his starting and also his attitude towards the end of the game. Um, but looking at this formation, how we were playing, El Canous was dropping deeper and deeper and deeper, and then trying the long balls to try and link up Fatawu and Mavididi, who I think again they didn't have. I think Fatawu didn't have a great game. They just had a one-off. Mavididi was trying, but at times I remember there was three players on him just trying to crowd him out, and they knew the threats and they decided to work on that and take them out of the game. Turnover possession, and yeah, just want to give them credit as well as going, look, we weren't anyway near our top level. So went 1-0 down. Jakub was absolutely out of his area, just kind of ran. Um, and look, it's I would say this is first time playing championship football. He's going to make these mistakes. I'm not going to go after him too much. He was stupid of him. He's just got to learn, put this behind him, and then he's going to go. Um, what was I going to say? And the one thing I want to say throughout the game, but I put especially in the first half, every single cross by every player was like 2 foot above everybody. All the crosses were overhead by a mile. So I think remember Jordan I one, it bounced in the penalty, it went straight out. There wasn't just him, El Canous, any kind of Winks, I think at times had balls, some Mori had balls, Thomas, I think, had another one as well, where the ball would just go soaring over people's heads. And I'm going, okay, if this happens once or twice, fair enough. But it's kept happening again and again. And I'm like, what's happening, people? I think even Mavidi trying to pass it over to Fasawu on one instance happened. I don't know if it's the outline of the pitch or whatever, but the balls throughout the game were not to the correct player and were way over the head. So in terms of that, that was really kind of worrying, to be honest. But look, we had the identity that Marty's trying to implement isn't quite working. And I think partly that is down to the players and how they're playing. So if I look by the header wide, yes. And also, there was one thing to mention. There was one time, I think, about 25 minutes, where we started to have a lot of the possession and we started to control the game. And that's what we would expect, is what Marty's mentioned about the possession. He'd want to do that. When we got hit on the counter, Osmajic missed, but just. And I remember putting there's a worrying sign where the header was just wide, where we need to pay attention, we need to focus up. They were, at times, we saw this against Huddersfield, they were playing more direct and they were kind of bullying us a little bit off the ball. And I think that's just down to potentially the way they're coached, but also the effort of the players. I think there's a genuine lack of effort at times for some of these players. And we're seeing the likes of what Justin get linked away, El Canous getting linked away, Winks getting linked away as well. Three players that again started this game. Okoli getting linked back to AC Milan as well, with apparently personal terms agreed. So there are problems throughout, and we will see what happens. But in the first, I was thinking, bloody hell, this could be a long watch. It did remind me a lot of kind of last season where we didn't play with an identity, and a style of play. It was just kind of a little bit not very good. But the second half came, and first of all, I looked at my phone. I looked at it and went, that's a bit strange. Why is Daka coming on? Thinking, what's Daka going to do? So the idea is El Canous comes off, and I'll be honest, my reaction was, what? Why? As I mentioned, El Canous was another player in the last game, in the game before against Sheffield Wednesday, who looked amazing. In this game, he didn't look as strong. I'd argue he was actually one of our weaker performance of that first 45 minutes. Now, when we come into this, he was replaced by Daka, which I decided to stay off Twitter because I knew the reaction. People's heads would start to explode. You know what I mean? And people would just comment all that stuff. But I was thinking, why has he done that? Because surely Daka would play in this position if that's the case. And I was trying to think through and go, okay, what? And this is what he tried to decide to do. It didn't work. But do you know what? It's a bold statement. It didn't quite work out. Daka comes in as a 9, and RU dropped in as the number 10, which I thought, okay, this could work. Daka didn't really, when he came on, have many opportunities in the game. He ran around a bit, but it's kind of the Patson Daka that we know, where he didn't really affect the game in any way. But it could also be because El Canous might be on a move to Crystal Palace. We will have to wait and see with time. But as you know, with this club, everything is for sale. So everyone is for sale. And when we're going to be sold, they're not going to sell all of our terrible assets. We have to sell our best assets. We'll see about the business plan, etc. But they're maybe trying to prepare for all that. So I thought at the beginning, I knew people's heads were going to explode. I thought, okay, Daka's come on, didn't affect the game. RU was playing good in the 10. I think RU tried. I think he really tried, but I think one time he hit the post, but apart from that, yeah, we'll have to see. There are positives to build on though. It's not all negatives. 55 minutes come in and we make a double substitution. And I look at the bench and I see, oh my God, what are we gonna do? So I saw Fast coming on thinking, oh God, what's the reaction going to be like? Booing once again. Credit to Fast, because again, I'll be honest, as I said in the last video, I don't blame him for giving it back to the fans. If you're giving it, you've got to take it. I understand there's a level of professionalism and that you have to go around, you have to be professional, but as a person, I understand this person saying F you, basically, boo, and you score and now you're celebrating. Yeah, where's that energy now? Yeah, shut up. I get it. When he came on, the boos were even louder than we are against Wednesday, and I was like, the fans won't learn. I don't agree with booing a player. I get he's not good. Would I like him to leave? Probably yes, and we could bring in a replacement. But that's not really useful for what we're doing at the moment. So anyway, Thomas came on for Fast. I was thinking, okay, what's going to happen here? Because we're essentially playing with three centre backs. What happened? Why does it keep going back to this one? Is essentially for this, we'll be playing the three in midfield. Thomas came off and he was replaced with Fast. But what happened is that Okoli, then Justin went over to left back, Fast went to centre back, and Okoli went over to right back. So again, we shuffled the back line. Normally, a team tries to keep the same back four, but I think in the way that this system works, we don't play a traditional back four. Both of them basically invert, so one of them goes into the eight. So it doesn't really work in that same way. So this worked okay, and we started to get on the ball. And I think if I can show you the Preston North End, if I can show you that, when we make this substitution at this time, when they started to come into the game, we were on top for a period of time, where Preston a little bit, and then we started to gain more. When these substitutions happened, we started to gain a foothold in the game. Another player that actually made a difference is Mavididi went off, who I think didn't have a bad game. I just think he was marked out the game. And our boy Monga came on. And the difference in roles between him and Fast and Monga couldn't be anything different. They couldn't be more opposites from one another. They were loving him. And again, we'll get onto it a little bit later. But my question that I had, and this was about 55 minutes about the substitution, I was like, can we wear them down? Can we take them into a better position? And can we actually wear them down overall over time? We didn't manage to, in my opinion. They were worn out, they were tired, but not as tired as Sheffield Wednesday was. I thought it would be similar, but it makes a difference when the squad, again, Sheffield Wednesday squad is so bare as it is. And I think just fun fact, I think their second goalkeeper is on loan from Norwich, he's only like he's their under 20, under 18s keeper. That's how limited their squad is, and also the player sent off. We didn't quite wear them down, but coming up to that, we started to sustain pressure and started to push, and which was nice. It was before the goal. There was a brilliant save by Everson. The ball comes across. I can't remember who it was, and it was put in by Fatau, I wanted to say, and it was a brilliant save by Everson. It reminded me of the Schmeichel saves, that he used to make for us when he was with us. Like, that's definitely going in. How's that not gone in? It was one of those, and credit to him. But within not even a minute or two after that, Monga that you've seen before, ironically, Fast with the assist, to mention as well. Monga gets the ball, cuts in the right back or left back at the position, didn't quite follow him, went in too early, created the extra space, and Monga was this beautiful. He creates this narrow corridor of room and just slots it in. And I felt that rush of, oh my God, this is he's arrived kind of thing. Like him with Vital did at the beginning of the season, like he's arrived. I know Vital was here last season, but you get my point. It was all his own doing. He made that goal pretty much all himself, and he didn't over celebrate. um, which I was surprised at. I thought he'd be giving it the big guns and everything. I think he was just right. Let's get back into the game. Let's try and get to 2-1. But to score his first goal, it just shows that I think he's the youngest player to score in the championship, apart from Bellingham. So we all know how good this dude can be. But it's lovely to see that we've got this opportunity to with Mavididi to run at people, and then you've got Fatau, we've got Monga to come off the bench as well. I think is brilliant. Then after that, later on, we sustain the pressure. We try to start breaking and going for the goal at the end. 73 minutes, IU then hits the post, and I'm thinking, oh dear, like we're trying. He was on Andre IU, Jordan IU was really trying. It just wasn't paying off for him, in my opinion. He was twisting, he was turning, he was trying to create the room, and he hits the outside of the post. But do you know what? Credit to him. Regardless of what position you know you're going to get something from him. And at times he is looking a bit weak, but even if he's in the final year of his contract, compared to other players we'll get onto later, at least he's giving it a good go. Because there are some toxic players that still need to leave. Um, then the second sub come on, about 76 minutes. Looks like Justin has come off, which I was going, oh God, what's happening here? If I come on to this one. Okoli came off. Where did I put Justin? So then again, what's happened is that Justin got injured. We then put on Hamza in this position. As again, normally he plays on the right, but we with this situation, and also potentially it was a bit of a clumsy challenge. Left one in him, and Justin is just getting back from an injury. That potentially could be the end of his transfer out of Leicester City, if depending on the injury and how bad it is. Um, and so yeah, Hamza came into that position, looked okay, looked again. It was just to kind of see out the game. And the last substitution we made was McAteer for Fatawu. Again, just building Fatawu's minutes up, which is absolutely fine. McAteer didn't do too much, can't judge him too much in the game. Who have we not talked about yet? Ayu Samore had a good game. At time you can see that he's got the ability to be the best player on the pitch. Better than the oppositions, but he's physical. But he just has that mentality of sometimes I'm just going to turn off, or I'm just not. Today's not going to be the day, which is annoying from our perspective. Um, there was again Monga with his goal, real highlight. I didn't see him too much in the game, but what I really liked, I think especially because RU was playing this way, probably need to flip it with Winks coming this side. Winks just has this ability to go, Monga, you do you. And I think I said this in pre-season, what I saw a lot of. Winks will get this position. He goes, Monga, you go, I'll find you, or you can figure this out. We'll give it if it's deeper in the pitch. He has a really good way of taking him on man, one on one. And Winks kind of linked up a lot with this side of things. Vestergaard, as we saw from the last few minutes, even championship defenders are faster than him. As championship attackers are faster than him. He turns so slow. He gets on his bike so slow as well. I think it was Osmarch again. Beats Vestergaard in a foot race, even though Vestergaard has quite a sizable distance on him if that was a normal defender, but he just goes past him and Slarchik saves him. Okoli, I think, had a better game than he did against Sheffield Wednesday overall. I think again, some of the Preston players were getting a little bit, they deserve credit, but there was one time where Monga, it looked like he went through his legs, he went round him, but he actually went all the way around him. He reminds me of like a FIFA Street player. Do you know what I mean? Just taking players on for fun, passing it around them. Didn't have too much to do, but I'm so excited to see how this guy develops because Monga's going to be an absolute star. But there are problems, as you can imagine. It looks like some of the players are forgetting where to go at times when we're defending. It looks like they forget how to defend as a unit. The pressing wasn't as good as it's been in the past as well. And we've all given Marty credit and because of what he's come in to do in the period of time that he's done it. However, and we were all so, let's be honest, a lot of us were so excited for the season, including myself. But now looking at the game, going, look, we need a lot of work. We do need a striker because Daka's not it. We need some reinforcements in players. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to drain some of these players out before we can potentially recruit from from our under 18s and to under 21s, players that are on the fringe because it's a big step up. And some of these players that we were seeing as senior pros are letting us down. I'll give you an example. This was something that I found going around social media. If I just put this in, this was from Chloe. So shout out to Chloe D1306. This was, for example, at the end of the game. I'll put the volume off. But you can see majority of players, including Fast, by the way, credit to Fast, considering he had no right, in my opinion, to go and face the fans. And there are a few players clapping him off because they did give it a good go, but the implementation wasn't there. There's one man that's going down the tunnel. Number 8, Mr. Harry Winks. Is this an attitude problem with 1 year in his contract? I didn't think he played too badly, but again, this is part of the issue we're having at the moment. Why is he walking down the tunnel? The fans have come a long way. Some of them went to Huddersfield, went back to work, and then have gone up to Preston. Like, it's not the longest journey, but it's 100 and what from Leicester, 100 odd, 150 miles, I want to say, over 100 and 110. So, like, you get paid handsomely. Go and say hello to the fans. Go and say thank you for coming. It's not hard. Some of these princesses need to go. And I know that we've given Harry Winks credit before, but things like that are really just going to piss off the fan base. So, yeah, that's my instant reaction after the game. There's not too much to analyze because but some of the Marty does need to get a hold of this lot and say, look, I appreciate Marty being bold, and some people might not appreciate this, but he's using all 5 subs. He's trying. I think the players, we just need to know we just need the window to close, and we need everybody that doesn't need to be here to go. Even like, I love El Canoes, but if he ain't gonna be here, we're gonna try and get in a Will Alves. We'll try and get a Will Pay, what's it called, Lewis Page. We'll get him in. We'll figure it out because some of these players aren't good enough, and if you don't want to be here, don't be here. I'll play the kids if I need, if in my opinion. But yeah, I'm a little bit ranty at the end. But would you agree? Do you disagree? Agree with what I said? Do you understand what he's trying to do with Marty? And again, just a massive credit to Chef Preston, because they played us off the park. They played us at our own game, and we've not really seen that. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.